Welcome to the official Business and Lifestyle Legends podcast. Real life stories, exciting interviews, and a lot of knowledge to change your life. And here is your host of today's episode, Ben Schneider.
Welcome guys to this new episode. Today I have again an awesome guest. We are talking about an Amazon business, what it's about, an Amazon business, how to start, and all around that topic. So his first company, Dirand, was twice ranked as one of Canada's Profit 100 fastest growing companies, and then sold it for $1.2 million in 2008. In 2016, he started his e-commerce business, and his company went on to generate over $1 million in its first year and has grown at more than 50% year over year since. His wholesale e-commerce business system, Short Webs, sold more than $1 million worth in the first 12 months, $400K out of that in the first week, which is quite awesome. In 2018, because of the success of Webs, he launched Flowster, a software company for e-commerce entrepreneurs to improve workflow automation. He's host of the Bright Ideas e-commerce business podcast and owner of brightideas.co. From Boise in Idaho, my guest today is Trent Deersmith. Hey Trent, how you doing?
Doing well, Ben. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome to have you as a guest in my podcast show. So you are the e-commerce guy. This is very, very interesting because a lot of people out there are trying to get in that e-commerce market. A lot of young entrepreneurs are trying to sell stuff online way more than, let's say, 10 years ago. So this is a very exciting topic today. But you are specialized on selling on Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. And we use a particular model called the reseller model.
Yeah, great. So do you think for sure you know that that online marketing, e-commerce, online marketing, Amazon business, where people are telling young entrepreneurs, hey, you just need to go on AliExpress, buy some stuff, or on Alibaba, buy some stuff and put them on Amazon, do Facebook ads on it and sell it. What do you think? Is it that easy as all the people out there are telling the young entrepreneurs?
No, and it actually really angers me. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and the reason that people are painting that picture that it's so easy is so that they can sell their courses. The reality is that, so there's several models to sell on Amazon, and as I mentioned to you, what you've just described when you're going to Alibaba and you're buying a product, that is generally referred to as the private label model. In other words, I find this product that's made by this company in China, I stick my label on it, and now it looks like my own brand. And then there's the Amazon reseller model, which we use, where we're not a brand owner. We don't buy products from Alibaba. We establish relationships with manufacturers that are predominantly in the US. Their products are actually, they might be made in China, but many of the stuff that we do is actually made in the US because we're in the health and supplements niche for the most part. But we don't, and our model is to establish a relationship with that brand and become one of their authorized resellers on the Amazon platform. And there's some big differences between those two models that are important for us to discuss and important for new people to understand. So with the private label model, it's a lot higher risk, and you can lose all of your money if you make a bad product selection, as I did when I first started out. So when I started, I went on, did my research, and I ordered some dog shock collars from a factory in China, and then from another factory I ordered some essential oil diffuser necklaces because my research, I didn't know what I was doing, but the research that I did indicated that those would be good product selections. Well, guess what happened? They were not good product selections. So it really didn't matter how much marketing and advertising I was going to do afterwards. Those products were, the competition was so high that I was never able to sell hardly any of them. And in order to sell any of them, I had to run ad campaigns. And so I never made any money at all. And it was very frustrating. And I think a lot of people go through that, and it takes them 6 months and they lose somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 on making mistakes. And that's pretty awful. It's pretty, for a lot of people, that would probably put an end to their attempts to get into the e-commerce business. Now let's compare that with the Amazon reseller approach. So the Amazon reseller approach, to get started, I don't have to create new products. I don't have to try and figure out if a product is going to sell. Instead, I look for products on Amazon, or I have my virtual assistants actually look for products on Amazon that are already selling. And then we run through some fairly simple analysis using some of the software tools that are available to try and determine that if we were able to become a reseller of those products, could we generate a profit in doing so? And if that is the case, which there are thousands and thousands of products where that is the case, then my job, and this is the much harder job, is to convince the brand to start doing business with me. And not all of them will say yes, of course. But if you talk to enough brands and you've got your stuff figured out, eventually someone's going to say yes, and then another company's going to say yes. And here's the really great part. It's almost impossible to lose all of your money versus, say, private label, where you can, because we're buying products that already have established traction. So the worst case scenario is, so let's give an example. Let's say I find some product, it's a widget, and it sells on Amazon for $20 and it's doing 4,000 units a month. And I'm going to be able to buy it from the manufacturer for $10. So the difference is going to give me enough money to make a profit. The worst case scenario is during the time that I'm trying to sell my product, the retail price on Amazon drops from $20 to maybe $17. At $17, I'm now not making any money. I'm just breaking even. But my inventory is still going to sell because it's still a popular product. I've still got the right price. I'm matching everybody else. And so I'm going to get my original capital back to go now and invest in some other product. Whereas in private label, if you make the mistakes that I made, you can't ever even get rid of the inventory. Like, I still have somewhere here in my office boxes of these stupid diffuser necklaces that we simply couldn't sell. I think we actually ended up throwing them in the trash because this was years ago now. So for new entrepreneurs, the risks are so much less with the Amazon wholesale model. And there's even a derivative of the model where you don't even have to buy inventory. Let's say you're having a conversation with a brand, and instead of you buying and reselling the inventory, maybe you convince them instead to let you be the brand manager for their Amazon Seller Central account. Now they're paying you a monthly retainer fee plus a percentage of the sales to manage their sales, and you don't have to buy any inventory. Now, at some point, maybe you want to switch to buying inventory because there's some pros and cons to buying inventory versus not buying inventory. My point is that particular approach, especially for new people, is so much less risk than trying to go into the private label business.
100% agree. But as you mentioned, there are pros and cons. So you are not building brands. You are trying to find out products who you have a good margin with. And if I get it right, you're trying to find products who are already selling on Amazon, right? So you're never the first one. If you do a private labeling and try to build a brand, for sure, 100% with you, there's a high potential to lose your money. But on the other side, there's possibility to make a lot of more money because of good branding, because of using A+ content on Amazon, because of having a better product than the competitors, because stuff like that. What I experienced here in Germany, and this is sure not in general, and there are some products that will work, but Amazon is charging a lot of fees, and in addition to that, you have to promote the product with Amazon ads if you want to sell a lot. This your margin will be tiny small for a lot of products, and if the price drops just a little bit, it's not working anymore. How's your experience with that?
Ways that you can insulate yourself from those risks, and I'll get to those in 1 second, but let me just make it clear for the audience, you don't have to only do private label or the reseller model. There's no reason why you can't do both. What I'm encouraging new entrepreneurs to do is take the lower risk approach to get started, because if you only have $5,000 or $10,000 and then you lose it all, the game's over. So my preference is, how can I start to build a business that produces steady cash flow with the minimum risk possible? And in that regard, the reseller approach is far more favorable. Now, to address your question, how do you prevent, because your margins are thin. You're correct. We're only operating on a gross margin of around 18% on a good day. So, couple things. Number one, when you have a relationship with the supplier, if you've done it correctly, you're one of only a finite number of sellers on that product. And therefore, let's say the brand has approved 3 sellers. There's not going to be a price war, because those 3 sellers have all agreed that they're not going to get into a price war. And if one of them were to break that, the brand would kick them off and stop selling them product. So yes, the price would decline for a little while if they started a price war, but those accounts are so valuable that nobody's stupid enough to start a price war. Like, we have an account, it's probably our highest profit, highest volume account. We've had it for years. There's 6 of us. 6. You think I'm going to start a price war? Hell no. Because the products are so high volume that 1/6 of the share is plenty of cash flow for the little that we do. Thank you very much. So the key is, again, it's a relationship-driven business instead of a product-driven business. So you must treat those relationships like gold. And in doing so, let's say that in the situation where there was 6 sellers at the beginning, if you can figure out how to do more, outperform, and add more value than the other 6 sellers over time due to the relationship, you can then petition the brand to say, well, why don't you get rid of some of those other sellers? And maybe 6 becomes 5, and then 5 becomes 4, and then 4 becomes 3. And maybe at some point in time, and we've had this happen, where you're now the only seller. Guess what? You're now making 6 times as much money for doing basically the same amount of work. You got to buy more inventory, which requires more capital. But again, you just keep turning your inventory over by placing small orders and replenishing on a regular basis. And then you just watch your cash flow grow. So that is an absolutely manageable risk versus, again, going back to private label. When you're picking a brand new product, what assurances do you have that that product's going to sell? None. How do you manage that risk? It's almost impossible to manage.
That's high risk, for sure, 100% agree. So if you are buying the stuff from the brands and shipping it by yourself, or might there sometimes possibilities to drop ship it? This would minimize the risk as well.
Yeah, so you're getting into logistics. We have manufacturers that will ship directly to Amazon for us. And then we have other manufacturers, because we're bundling or we're doing things that they're unwilling to do, they don't ship to us because we don't have our own warehouse anymore. We outsourced it. We use what's called a 3PL, third-party logistics center. And so they act as our warehouse. And so we'll have the brand ship the products to the 3PL. And if we're making bundles, the 3PL will make those bundles for us. And of course, they charge us to do it, but we have enough profit margin to be able to afford to do that. And then they get shipped into Amazon. And so that Amazon, via the FBA, can pick, pack, and ship the product to the end customer that bought it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm brand new. I have $10,000 in my pocket, and I want to start an Amazon business. First step, let me go to the companies, to the brands, and talking to them. What do I have to tell them? Because I maybe have not quite much experience on selling stuff online, but I heard that interview right now on the Business and Lifestyle Legends podcast, and I want to do that. And I go out to that brand and trying to convince them selling with me. What do I tell them?
You're going to start. It's a very good question. It's a very real scenario, and there is totally a way to handle it. So the first thing that you're going to do in the beginning, first 90 days in particular, you need experience and credibility more than you need money, because the experience and the credibility will allow you to get more lucrative accounts in the future. So in the beginning, you're going to want to focus your efforts on prospecting smaller brands that don't yet have a whole lot of traction on Amazon, but would be very excited to have someone come in and put in the elbow grease to make their products more successful. So let's give a specific example. You find this brand that makes, say, I don't know, pet toys or nutritional supplement, doesn't matter what they make. And they have a product that's, selling, say, 30 units a month. That's not very much. You look at the listing and you see why it's only selling 30 units a month. It's not very well marketed. The listing is poorly optimized. It doesn't have great photos. There's no enhanced brand content. Nobody's running any ad campaigns, none of that stuff. So you say to the brand, look, I'm new at this. I've just finished a training course. I know what I'm doing. I need an opportunity to prove it. I would like to be able to place a small order for your product that's doing 30 units a month. And I'm going to invest my time and effort into improving, in cooperation with you, to improve how that product is marketed and see if we can get the sales from 30 units a month up to 60 units a month or 100 units per month. Now, for a small brand that doesn't have a whole lot of traction, they're not being approached by a whole bunch of third-party sellers willing to do this. So they're going to be receptive to this discussion. And then when you are able to double their sales in 90 days or 120 days, it doesn't matter if you made a profit. What matters is they're going to give you a testimonial that you doubled their sales in 90 days. That's worth far more than the $1,000 or whatever it is. A bunch of money in the process, but breaking even at this point in time is a-okay, because now when I go to the next brand that's a little bigger with a product that's doing maybe 1,000 or 2,000 units a month, I can say, hey, look, the last company I worked with, I doubled the sales of their product in 90 days, 120 days, whatever. I've been looking at your products and I noticed that you have some in your catalog that I think are not very well marketed. I think they have significant potential, and I would like to do the same thing with your company that I did with this last company. What do you think? And you're making this a no-risk proposition for the brand because they don't have to pay you any money to do this. You're going to buy some inventory, so they're going to get money from you. And just like the last time, you're going to put in your elbow grease to make the listing more optimized, better photos, what have you. Maybe they'll help you pay for it. Maybe they won't. Again, you'll have to negotiate that on a case-by-case basis. But you just work on climbing the ladder of credibility to the point where you don't have to do that anymore. To the point where you have enough testimonials and enough references and you have enough expertise that you've developed in your first couple of months or 6 months in the business that now you can go start going to brands and say, look, the last 3 companies I worked with, I increased their sales an average of 57% in 120 days. Do you want to talk to me? What do you think the answer is going to be? More likely to be yes or more likely to be no? More likely to be yes.
Definitely. And I really love what you said in the last couple of minutes, because this is one of the reasons, guys, why we have started this podcast, to show you stories and instructions from real entrepreneurs. Because a lot of people out there thinking, because of that marketing gurus, there is an overnight success. You only have to watch that video course and this will make you rich. This is just not true. You need to go step by step by step, climbing the ladder. Maybe you fall down a little bit because you made a wrong decision. You try again, stand up. So this is exactly how it works. And this is exactly what Trent mentioned in the last couple of minutes. Love that. Definitely. So great. You showed us a step-by-step guide right now, how to talk to that companies. But next question leads me to, and this is also your software about, do I have to do all this by my own, or is there something I can learn it, or because you already did that, or can I hire people for that, but maybe they will too expensive if I'm from the US, for example, and I hire someone who is working for me in my company, which is almost making no money. I cannot pay $3,000 a month for that guy researching products on Amazon or doing ads on Amazon or something like that. So starting that Amazon business, is that something that I could do by my own? Or do I need to have a graphic designer, a videograph, an author, a marketing guy? What people do I need? Do I need to have a team, or can I do that by my own? Or can I outsource the process completely and I only focus on being in contact with the brand?
Exactly how I did it. And I think people would be well served to do exactly what I did. So when I started mine, I knew that there was nobody better to talk to the brands, the sales role, because I had spent my career as a sales guy. So I was very comfortable having conversations and making presentations to prospective business partners. But in order to get those conversations, there was a lot of really menial labor, to be honest with you, which was easily outsourced to virtual assistants if you had good business processes in place. So I started in the summer of 2016. In my first 5 months, my business went from zero to over $100,000 a month. You mentioned that we did it over $1 million in our first year. And so as a result of that, I got invited to speak at a conference, and I'm taking a little bit long road to answer your question. So there I am, I'm up on stage, and I had no software company at the time. Webs doesn't exist at the time. And I just said, hey, everybody, I'm going to explain to you how I used all these processes that I created, and I hired a little army of virtual assistants from the Philippines for $3 an hour each to achieve this outcome. And much to my surprise, so my talk was all about how I created all these standard operating procedures, which is basically just documented business processes, and then delegated all of the grunt work that needed to happen before I was going to get an opportunity to talk to a brand over face to face like you and I are talking right now. Much to my surprise, at the end of the talk, there was an overwhelming number of people in the audience who had all recently graduated from a training program or were at various stages in their business, and they said, we need that, but I don't want to make it. It's going to take way too long. Can I buy a copy of yours? And that's how Webs was born. We agreed, and that's how we sold $400,000 worth of these standard operating procedures in the first week. So can you do it on your own? Completely on your own? No, I don't think you can. There's too much work. Can you do it with the help of a couple of virtual assistants whose wage is $3 an hour? Yes, absolutely you can. So what you would need, so you have to understand the process to generate leads and do prospecting so that you can identify hundreds of profitable products every single week, week after week after week, and then send emails to those brands, 200 to 300 a week, every single week, week after week after week, so that you can fill your calendar with enough meetings with these brands to have these discussions that will lead to you getting a yes, 1 in 5 times or 1 in 4 times or 1 in 6 times, depending on how good you are and how thorough you are. Can you do that without virtual assistants? No, there's way too much work. You'd have to forego sleep. I mean, you're literally talking like 100 hours a week of work to be able to send that many emails and do all those meetings. It's literally impossible to do. And that's why Webs is so popular, because we give people the processes that they need so they don't have to create them from scratch. then allow them to go and hire a virtual assistant and very easily delegate, okay, so you're going to do product research, you're going to do product extractions, you're going to find all the contact information, and then we're going to send these 300 emails every week. What took me 20 seconds to explain, there's a lot of details in that, and it requires a lot of labor to get it happening. And so if you're the one in charge, and then you'll be able to make it happen. That's exactly what I did. So for my first 6 months in the business, before I replaced myself in this role, all I did for 8 hours a day was sit in front of my computer and deal with the replies that came back from those hundreds of emails that we sent every week after week. And then I would work on those replies and get Zoom meetings and negotiate prices and get contracts signed. And that's how we did it. And if you want to be successful in this business, you need to do the same approach. If you're going to try and do everything yourself, you're going to do all the product research and you're going to do all the product extractions and you're going to find all the contact information. First of all, that's mind-numbingly boring work. And second of all, you won't have time. It will be impossible. You will not succeed.
So what I heard out of that is it's a numbers game also. So you cannot research by yourself for 5 products and then you're going to make this business work. So what you mentioned, you need to send out hundreds of emails week by week to get this thing running. So definitely, guys. So you can hire these virtual assistant, for example, on our platform, Shopify.com. But you need to be guided, because only to have the virtual assistant who are not knowing about Amazon maybe, or just knowing a tiny little bit about, these guys will not build your business. So you need the other side too, to be guided, or to have a guide that will guide your new employees, the new virtual assistant. And I think this is exactly what Webs is gonna provide. So if I understood it right, Webs is a part, or is living in Flowster, in your software Flowster. And this is not like a video course from all that gurus that make you rich. Webs is a compilation of the step-by-step process. So, for example, you go on Shopify.com and hire right now a virtual assistant. Then you need to hand over tasks for her. So let's say this girl should do product research on Amazon. Okay, now usually you would need to create a Loom video or something like that to show her exactly the steps that needs to be done. And this is exactly where Webs comes in. You don't have to explain anything to your virtual assistant, because you just give her an account on your Webster, on your Webs, and there is all the instructions inside, right?
Correct. You will add them to Flowster. You will, if they're helping you to work on product sourcing. So Webs is very comprehensive. Product sourcing is just one piece of Webs. There's PPC campaigns and listing optimization and shipping and Amazon account health and HR. There's all these repeatable processes that you need to know how to do to be successful in this business. Webs has all those processes within it. One area is product sourcing. So you hire a VA and you want a VA to do product extractions for you. You literally take the product extraction template, and in Flowster terminology, we say we run a workflow, which basically means you're just making a copy of the template, you're assigning it to your VA, and you're giving it a due date. They'll get a notification, they'll log into Flowster, and they'll simply start to follow the instructions and put checks in the check boxes as they go through and are doing the work. And when we put the last checkbox in, the work is done. Unlike a training video where you just kind of sit and passively watch it and you're trying to remember everything, and by the time the video's over, you're hoping you remembered everything, and then you're going from memory and trying to do all that, it's not very effective. That's why airline pilots don't have a pre-flight video. They have a pre-flight checklist before the plane pushes back.
That makes sense. So I think this is quite awesome for you guys, because Trent showed in that podcast and shared some reasons and some steps why to do Amazon business and how to do the Amazon business. But this has so wide range of tasks and stuff you need to care about, you need to think about, you need people to have, and this is all inside webs. So if you guys are interested in doing an Amazon business like a real entrepreneur, not that marketing bullshit other people are telling you, you can have a look at brightIdeas.co/webs. brightIdeas.co/webs. So this is the website of Trent, and there you will find a lot of information about webs. Also there you can get access to it and get your Amazon business started. So I think this was a very valuable podcast. I liked it very much. I'm also in the e-commerce business, and you're 100% right. So I like that, guys. And this is what we have in almost every interview on the Business and Lifestyle Legend podcast. You feel it if you speak with people who are not telling you something because they have wrote that in the internet or something like that, but telling you something they are experienced in. Trent has made these researches by its own, and he realized that was not working. He has done this private labeling stuff at the beginning of his career and realized that was not working for him like that. And then he came up with an idea and get this thing running and made an instructional tool for you guys, so you can copy like his business and being also successful with that. But it's every time works, so it's not done by copying it and then it's okay. You need to put in the work, right?
Will work for you. It doesn't matter what tools you're given or what software you have. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to get any results.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Trent, for being here, for spending and sharing your time with us. Liked it very much, as I mentioned. You're a nice person. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing all that interesting facts, and wish you all the best, guys. Have a look at his website. If you want to follow Trent, for example, on what is your favorite channel?
These days it's Twitter, at Trent Deersmith on Twitter.
It's Twitter? Okay, you go on Trent Deersmith at Twitter and follow this guy. This guy has, I think, a lot of valuable content to share there. So thank you very much. If you guys want to rate this podcast, would be awesome to get a rating from you, and hopefully you'll be with us in the next episode. Thanks. Bye-bye.